Today we are going to study human reproductive system. So in human reproductive system, we are going to study the structure of male reproductive system, female reproductive system, gametogenesis, menstrual cycle, and parturition. Let's start with the male reproductive system. Male reproductive system consists of two parts, that is primary reproductive organs and secondary reproductive organs. Primary reproductive organs includes a pair of testes in the abdominal region. The testes are placed in a scrotal sac outside the body so that it can maintain the temperature 2 to 3 degrees less than body temperature, which will help in a process of sperm formation, which is known as spermatogenesis. Testes consist of 250 locules, or let's say chambers, inside which each chamber consists of 2 to 3 long thread-like structures called seminiferous tubules. Seminiferous tubules are the place where sperms are produced. From the seminiferous tubules, the sperms reaches to the network of tubules known as serrated testes. From there, the sperms moves to common tubes called as vas efferentia. Then that from vas efferentia all collect together to form a common duct which is known as epididymis. Epididymis is the longest tube over there. So it is about 6 meters in length. So in the epididymis, the sperms gets mature. From the epididymis, the tube comes out as a vas deferens. Vas deferens is a point where actually vasectomy is done, and during vasectomy, vas deferens is taken out. It is through a small hole, and then it's tied and cut and tied. It is cut and tied, and after tying it, it is placed back. So that's what called vasectomy. That is a type of male contraceptives, permanent method of contraceptives. Then after that, the tube enters into a gland called as seminal vesicle. A pair of seminal vesicles are present in either side of the duct. So you can understand here is the place where the all kind of mucus and nutrient substance like fructose, glucose, galactose, lactose. Vas deferens is a point where vasectomy is done. In the vasectomy, they cut the vas deferens and tie so that there is no fusion of male and female gametes. It's a permanent type of contraceptives done in male. From vas deferens, the sperm enter into a gland called a seminal vesicle. A pair of seminal vesicles are present on either side. So seminal vesicles consist of nutrients that are helpful for the sperms to survive. So that means it contains fructose, glucose, galactose, lactose, and so many ions, minerals, amino acids, so on. So these secretions plus the sperm together is called as semen. And during let's say coitus or mating, it comes out through a tube called as ejaculation duct. So both the sides ejaculation duct fuse together in a common urethra. From urethra, it sends the gametes into the other female body. So that's what it is about male reproductive systems. When you talk about external genitalia, penis is the external genitalia which helps in copulation, as well as it has pubic hairs, and it also we can call as voice cracking and all the things all comes under secondary sexual characters of male. Human male. Whereas when we talk about female reproductive system, we have a pair of ovaries at the abdominal region inside the body, and eggs are produced at the time of fetus formation, not at the time of puberty. Whereas in male, it is formed at the time of puberty. In the female ovary, there are millions of eggs formed in the beginning, but later when the child gets birth and then becomes the age of puberty, at the time the eggs will reach only 60 to 60,000 in each ovary. So out of that 60,000, 416 eggs only gets mature in her lifetime. So approximately at around 45, let's say 50 to 55, she becomes infertile, whereas there is no infertility for male in this matter. So So when we talk about start of menstrual cycle, that's called as menarche, and the end of menstrual cycle, which is called as menopause. When we talk about female reproductive system in elaborate form, we know that ovary, inside ovary there are eggs, and the egg is actually in the form of secondary oocyte, and then it will become ovum only after a sperm touches it. So when will the meiosis start in the female? It starts at the time of fetus development, and then it stops in prophase 1, and then later it completes its first meiosis division when egg starts maturing in the ovary, whereas again it stops at the second prophase, that is meiosis 2. So and then that completes only after a sperm touches it. So that's what it is. Okay, that's we are talking about male and female reproductive system. Let's talk about female reproductive system in more elaborate. Along with the ovaries, there are fallopian tubes, a pair of fallopian tubes. Fallopian tube consists of the tip region called fimbriae, finger-like projections, then a funnel-shaped structure called as infundibulum, and then a wider passage called as ampulla, then a narrow passage called as isthmus, and then comes inverted pear-shaped structure called as uterus. And inside the next to uterus, there is a narrow passage called as cervix. Next to it, there is a canal called vagina. So these are the areas, this is the place of female reproductive system, whereas external genitalia, it is mammary glands, and then pubic hairs, the two major flap of skins called as labia majora, whereas two flap of skins which are inside the labia majora called as labia minora, and there is a finger-like projection between in the fusion of labia minora known as clitoris. So these are the external genitalia in human females. In human being, gametogenesis includes spermatogenesis and oogenesis. When we say spermatogenesis, that's the process of formation of sperm from spermatogonia. So spermatogonia is present in the seminiferous tubules and the outermost layer. This spermatogonia undergoes mitotic division to multiply its number. That's why billions of sperms are present inside. Whereas when it undergoes meiotic division, then it is called as primary spermatocytes. These primary spermatocytes undergoes meiotic division, and first meiotic division resulting in secondary spermatocytes, whereas primary spermatocytes are having 2n ploidy, whereas secondary spermatocytes has n number of ploidy. When we talk about primary spermatocytes and secondary spermatocytes, secondary spermatocytes further undergoes meiotic 2 division to form spermatids. Now these spermatids will undergo spermiogenesis. I mean to say they form sperms. So this like metamorphosis over here, it transforms to become a sperm. So and that process is called as spermiogenesis. So formation of sperm from let's say spermatid is known as spermiogenesis, whereas a formation of sperm from spermatogonia is known as spermatogenesis. Whereas when we talk about female, in female it is known as oogenesis. So formation of egg is known as, I mean to say ovum is known as oogenesis, and oogenesis starts with oogonia. Now oogonia are actually produced at the time of fetus development, and when this oogonia starts developing, so at the age it starts meiotic division. And oogenesis, what happens is primary oocytes become secondary oocytes, and then secondary oocytes transforms to become let's say ovum, but the process does not happen at once. It starts at the age of fetus, and it ends at when only a sperm touches the egg. So that means internally the development is like primary oocyte becomes secondary oocyte. For that it takes nearly about 12 years. Why? Because from the child till she reaches the age of puberty, the cell is in pause state. So development does not happen, but only at the time of puberty, one of the egg from each ovary starts developing further, and it becomes secondary oocyte and a first polar body, and then this secondary oocyte further undergoes second meiotic division and form ovum. But in this also it stops and it waits for the sperms to fertilize. Unless the sperms fertilize, the second meiotic division also stops. So when a sperm comes and contacts to this ovum, which is in secondary oocyte state, then it will transform to become ovum. So and then only the second polar body and the complete formed ovum will be